I'm replacing tires on this car. Wanted to show that I have this. I usually don't do 4 tires at the same time, but situations happen. I am. And anyway, but the point is that I want to make is I have a method of lifting the car up so I can replace all the so I can have all the tires off at the same time. Another thing you could do is work on the brakes with this kind of a situation. A lift, because those lifts don't cost a heck of a lot, and I only want to go up this high. I don't need to go up real tall. I don't do that much work on cars anymore. But it was expensive, and there was one type. There was, like, small cars had one type and larger cars had another type, and then there was a gray area, and some of the larger cars needed the smaller one, and I was trying to figure it out. In other words, I was trying to figure out which one I could get that would lift all of our cars, and I thought, I couldn't figure it out exactly, and I thought, well, what if I just get 4 jacks from Harbor Freight? I already had one, so I just bought 3 more, and that solved the problem. Then just recently, they have this metal cup thing, which really doesn't work very well to lift the car. I'll show you later after I get it off. And so I made this wood thing, which is well, I won't get into how long it's been a couple of years. I've been planning on making a piece of wood to go in there. This truck is heavy, and I don't know that I have ever done it with those jacks. I think in theory I could. I mean, 1 jack will lift up. So if 1 jack will lift up 1/4, then 4 jacks will lift up the whole thing. But I don't know that I've ever done it. But what I do is, I like to, and in this truck too, I think I've just replaced tire by tire. But what I like to do is replace the front tires. Also, I was using used tires on this truck for a while, and that was kind of a problem. But what I like to do is take the tires out the front, because they're usually most worn, and get new tires, but then put the new tires on the back, and then put the back tires on the front. That's why I like to lift the whole car up. But I think this truck anymore, it's just got, see, this is a pretty new tire. I'm not sure if the other side is new. See, this one isn't as new. It's not the same. Another thing, of course, these tires are more expensive for a truck like that. The tires for that little car aren't very expensive. Well, relatively. And then I've got this minivan. And then we've got the Subaru. So, it keeps me busy. And I've got that Ford Focus. Now, the funny thing about the Ford Focus, I've had to replace the tires on it because they get wobbly for some reason. I'm not sure if it's the way my daughter drives or what does it. But the tires, they still have some tread on them, but they're just too wobbly. I have to replace them. So it's got good tires all around. Well, except this is a good tire, but I think this is a problem too, a modern problem. You've got that sensor in there. And I've had cars in the past where I just say, just put a $2 new valve in. But then I have people in the family that like to see their tire pressure. And so I've had to replace, I had the mechanic replace these. But it's a problem. In other words, if these didn't have that sensor on it, every time you get a new tire, just get a new one of these. It's $2. But with that sensor on it, it costs more money. Now, I've seen something where I have to find out. I'll have to find out in more detail, because I have to do something about that one. So we got those 2 tires on. And what I want to show you is how I made these blocks. See, you've got this. which doesn't really work very well for the lifting point under here. So, and you know, you put a block on, if I put this block on top of it, it's too thick. So I've been using inch, but then they fall off and stuff. So this is kind of locked in, plus it's pushing from down here instead of the edge. So that's got more secure, so to speak. And then you know how these lifting points are, I'll show you. I looked all over for various places to put this, and you know, I always worry if I put it somewhere it's going to damage. So this is the lifting point where you have these notches. They always have these notches like that. And if you do that, a lot of guys will just put that steel thing right here and lift on this ridge. But I don't like to do that. And it's raised behind here. There's a raised portion, which I'm assuming and hoping is more solid. So I put this here like this. There's a screw sticking through right there. So it's between these two notches here. Right there like that. That's how I do it. There isn't always a screw sticking through right there either to get in the way. In the back, this time I went underneath the shock, which is pretty solid. But see, on that one I couldn't get underneath the shock. I went near it. And this is a plastic thing. I don't want to push on that plastic thing. So, and then I had it on the spring. This holds the spring. It was flexing. And probably next time if I've got those blocks, I'll just do it here. You know, that's the same. And there's no screw sticking through here, so probably just as well. One other thing I was going to say, one guy says I talk too much, but I was going to say that I waited a couple years. It's been a couple years since I got all four of these. And see, there's a new one here. And I was thinking in terms of making a round wooden disc that would be probably the same height as this. And I kept thinking it's difficult to cut something round in wood. But then when I figured out how to do this, then it seemed like, so I cut this, and it's theoretically round, you might say. But really what I ended up doing was I just made 3 passes with the saw, one this way, and one this way. And then, you know, just chewed it out the rest of the way. So it's not a circle, it's a regular little carpenter saw. Go this way, this way, this way, 3 cuts. You might say it'd be like a hexagon, I guess. Of course, these look a little pointed, but at any rate, it's a lot easier than making a circle. You can just go boom, 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 you know, pretty quick. So as I said earlier, I normally replace 2 tires at a time. That makes it a little less painful. And I don't go to the tire, I don't take the car to the tire store because it's hard for them to understand that I want to take the front tires off because they're worn out, put new tires on those wheels, and put those wheels on the back, plus they don't want to do that much work. So I could, you know, like I showed you with my jacks, I could take the worn front tires off the front, put them on the back, put the back tires on the front, then take it to the tire store. Well, I got one other problem with the tire store. They have a tendency to over torque. In fact, they pretty much always over torque. And really, this is all you need right here. You really don't need more than that. Now, if you want to give it more than that, you know, go ahead. And I might even run around. But these people that, but at the tire store, they'll tighten it down so bad, you know, when you have to take it off, if you need to change the spare on the side of the road, you're really going to be in trouble because you can't hardly get it loose. Now, and I have heard the stories where the tire comes off. Well, I believe when if the tire comes off your car, they were never tightened down as much as I just showed you now. They were like finger tight. And especially if it came off shortly after you had the, you know, new tire put on or the flat fixed or whatever it was. So if it came off shortly after you left that garage or that mechanic, they never tightened it at all. Now they do say an aluminum wheel is a little different because aluminum, I don't know, it expands and contracts or something. I'm not sure what it is. So they say it needs to be a little tighter, or you can go back, tighten it once, and then the next day or next week, tighten it again. Of course, that's one of those things that, and the road to good intentions. But you still don't need to crank it down so hard that, you know, when you go to take it off, you have to kick that four-way.